Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Miss Bellissimo and today we'll be going over semicolons. Hello everybody, so today we're going to be going over semicolons. They look a little something like this. And there's something that a lot of students in the English language fear, and they're quite easy to use. So let's take a little look at semicolons. Okay, now I'd just like to make a quick note here that I'm going to be using one of the more, I'm going to say, popular ways of using it, one of the more common ways of using it, and it's one of the ways that if you want someone to think, ooh, they know what they're doing when they're writing, this would be kind of the way to use it. There are some more technical ways. If you want to know about those, let me know in the comment section below. But for today's video, we're going to focus on the more popular, common way to use it, the best way to kind of make sure that your writing is on point, and kind of the ways that I think as a student that you most would want to know how to use it. Okay, so when can I use a semicolon? We're going to use it to join two related independent clauses. Now again, let's quickly review. Independent clause is a clause where it's going to have your complete thought. Very important. This idea of a complete thought or idea. Okay, and it's also going to follow kind of your subject, verb, object sort of pattern that we do in English. We're going to focus really on the subject and the verb because these are the ones that you really need. Because a complete clause or a complete independent clause could be I eat. Okay, very simple sentence. You can make them very simple, but that is a full sentence. You don't need the object, but you do need the subject and the verb. Okay, so if we take a look at these, our independent clause, for example, right? And we have our verb right here. Want to eat is actually our full one right here. What do we want to eat? In case you were curious about where the object is, let's make the object light blue. Ice cream would be your example of our object in here. Okay, so it follows that subject, verb, object sort of pattern. This one right here is also an independent clause. It's the imperative with a you being implied. So we have our subject right here, and we're going to the store. Okay, so we have a complete independent clause on either side. If you're not following this too much, take a look at the commas video where I go into this a little bit more. Otherwise, just know that this means it has to be a full sentence on either side of the what we're going to join. So if you were to use a period right there, it would totally work. Now, these are both grammatically correct sentences, but if we wanted to join them, we could do that with the semicolon. So it would look a little something like this. I want to eat ice cream, semicolon, let's go to the store. Okay, and very simply, this is how we would use a semicolon. It's going to replace this little period right here, and it's turning it into one of these. Now, the thing that this is doing is it's showing that there's a relationship between this sentence and this sentence. It can be used, so it's going to be used in lieu of a comma and a coordinated conjunction or a period. What do I mean by a comma and a coordinated conjunction? I could also write this sentence saying, I want to eat ice cream, comma, coordinated conjunction, so let's go to the store. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about these, take a look at the commas video where I explain a little bit more about how to use what is called your comma and your coordinating conjunction, or I made a video about fanboys. So that's where you're going to find a little bit more about that. But if you're comfortable using these, then you'll be comfortable using these. And honestly, if you're comfortable putting a period in between, you'll be comfortable using a semicolon. So the semicolon is going to replace the period, or right here, this coordinating conjunction with your comma, and it's going to be making it just like this. So in the way that it goes is this is showing there's some distance between them. They're not related really. They can be, but they don't necessarily have to be. This is showing some more relation between the sentences. They have something to do with each other. And this one is showing the most, that they're the most related. Okay, a couple of things I'd like to, or just one thing I really want to point out. We'll get into some example sentences for you. Once we kind of get the hang of it, it should be a little easier to see. The one thing I want to point out is this. You'll notice that the letter over here is not capitalized. Unless it is a proper noun where you have I, or if you were to have a name, for example, Sally, or Bob, okay, Monday, that's Bob, Monday, okay, all of these have to be capitalized no matter where they are in a sentence. So if it's not one of those, you're going to make it a lowercase. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of these. Right, I already said this. So if you want to know a little bit more about some other uses of semicolons, let me know. But let's focus on this one. Okay, so we have an example sentence here, and I promise you these are both going to be sentences on either side. I don't want to trick you just quite yet. So we have a full sentence, and we have a full sentence. We know that these are all going to be related. I did make these to relate as much as possible. So what are we going to do? Pause the video here, see if you can find the spot to put the semicolon. Are you back? Perfect. Okay, so if I were to write this out, and sorry, the font that I use is all capital letters, so I'm going to write it out here. So Sally was hungry. So instead of my period, I can just put a semicolon. She, remember lowercase, because that word doesn't need to be in uppercase. She went to the cafeteria. Done. Okay, nice and simple and easy. Obviously, I'm making this look pretty big so it stands out, but when you type it, it won't be so big. But that's as simple as it is. Full sentence, we want to join them, we do it with a semicolon. Okay, let's take a look. I have two more. Okay, so again, I made these so they're full sentences on either side. This is the first and most important step. They must be a full sentence. If it is not a full sentence, do not join it with a semicolon. If not. Okay, this is where most people get into mistakes. So let's take a look at this one and I'll show you an example of kind of a mistake. So every Wednesday I go to band practice. It is in the music room. Both of the ideas are related. We're talking about the same thing. So we can use a semicolon. Pause the video and see if you can find where it goes. Okay, so if I were to do this, and again I will write this all out. So every Wednesday, capitalizing Wednesday because that is a proper noun, so we need that capitalized. I, proper noun, go to band practice. Okay, this is where we put a semicolon. It is in the music room. Perfect, okay? So we have our full ideas. We combined it with the semicolon there instead of the period there. Nice, simple, and easy. Now, this is where people would make a mistake. So if I were to say, and again, we're going off this idea, this is the correct one, and this is going to be the incorrect. If I were to say every Wednesday, I go to band practice, semicolon, in the music room. Now this is where most people make the mistake, because in the music room is not a sentence. So this is where most people make the mistake. This is where you're going to be knowing that you're using it incorrectly. If I can make them into complete sentences, if I can put that period there, we can put a semicolon. If not, you cannot put a semicolon unless for some very specific reasons. And again, if you really want to know those very specific instances, where you can use a semicolon kind of in a different way than this, let me know down below. But we're going to say 90% of the time, depending on what you're writing, you're not going to be allowed to use a semicolon there. Okay, so make sure that it is a full sentence on either side. Let's take a look at our last example. Now this one I tried to do a little bit more of what you might be writing as a student. And the idea simply is it's the same thing, right? So you can view Hamlet's descent into madness throughout the play. We're talking about the play of Hamlet. I'm writing about that. Some academics argue that he starts to go mad in Act 1. Okay, now we're not looking too much at the truthfulness of these two sentences. I just wanted to use them as an example. They may sound a little more wordy. They may be a little longer. They might have some more higher vocabulary than my last sentences, like academics. We have like the descent into madness throughout the play. Okay, so we have some bigger words here, but same idea. Don't panic. Now, I wrote these to be full sentences on either side. Okay, they are both full sentences, so we're fine there. Pause the video. Where does the semicolon go? Are you back? Okay, so this is our last one. It'll take me a little longer to write this out, but you can view Hamlet's descent into madness throughout the play. And you said semicolon goes here. You are correct. Remember, this is not a capital. That's going to be staying lowercase. Academics argue period. Okay. That's how it looks. Pretty simple and easy. Now, if you like the look of the period, that's fine. You can keep the periods. You don't need to add semicolons. These, think of them as optional. Think of them as like the cherry on the, this is a terrible example of an ice cream sundae, but imagine this is the cherry. Okay, this is kind of like the cherry on top of the sundae. If you would like to use it, say, hey, you know, I'm really trying to use more advanced grammar topics in my essay. You know, look at me. And how great I am with grammar. Go for it. It's different. It will add some differences and some variety into your sentences, especially if you're getting into like grade 11, grade 12, you know, if you're heading into university. They're going to be looking for variety in your sentences. They're going to be looking for something that's not going to be boring. And especially with short sentences can be quite boring. They work, they're correct, but they're boring. So if you have two short ones and they're related, feel free to join them, right? Our short ones up here, right? These are very short. And so for there, maybe I want to join them to create some variety. That being said, if you're not comfortable, don't use them until you're comfortable. Or take a look online and see through things like Grammarly is really good at checking kind of those things. Start practicing them. They're really helpful. They're super easy. Don't get intimidated. Some people get really scared and they're like, oh no, it's a semicolon. Don't think that way. They're quite easy to use. So if you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a nice big thumbs up. If you have any comments or suggestions or ideas for videos, or if you'd like to look at more specific and more technical ways of using semicolons, let me know in the comment section below. But this is the easiest way, and it will show that you're starting to really grasp some of these grammar concepts quite early and quite easily. So give them a try. They're not too scary. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!